Hello, and welcome back to another Goblins Oracle Dice video. Today I'm going to be taking you through the full 22 dice set of the Season set, which is the original set that moved into the second edition and came through now into the third edition, becoming the Season set. So each one of the dice in this dice set belongs to a lord. This is the Youth of Spring. You can get the cards for the Lords of the Dice in the Die Face Oracle deck. So let's go through it. So this here is the Seasons die. This is the first one we're going to look at. This is the Spring. We're going to look at the 4 seasons first because they are the core of the set, in my opinion. So we begin here with Spring. We have the Seed. This face talks about new beginnings. It's very much like the Ace of Pentacles, I think, more than anything else. New things are sprouting. You've planted your seeds. They're beginning to grow. This is something that gets to change and grow with you. On this side, we have Flight. Flight means that you want to leave the situation, often because you're unhappy with it or you just want to be free of obligations. This is, of course, sex. Sex deals with intimacy, physical. It can definitely deal explicitly with actual sex, but it can also mean that you desire like physical closeness and companionship with other people. This is the Jester's cap. This is basically the Fool from Tarot. It means you're starting a new journey and you're being very maybe naive on this journey. This face is Whimsy. It usually means that you're at someone else's whims at the moment. Boop. We lost the beauty influencer ability here. So then we have Disrepair. Disrepair is a phase that talks about in spring, after winter is done, you begin experiencing the world again and recognizing the things that have fallen into disrepair in the time that you have been on your way through winter. Now there's things to fix and try over again. So I'm going to go ahead and plant this in the wooden box right where he belongs. Up next, we have the Crone of Summer. The Crone of Summer, as you might guess, comes with the Summer die. The Summer die is mostly about acting and doing things. Like we have the Fist here. It means it's time to take action. You can't hold back anymore. It's time to really go out there and be heard or do something physical, to be understood or make change. This is the transaction or the gains face of the dice. It deals with earning things. This can mean, go get your money, go work at your job, make some stuff. This is Radiance. Radiance deals with being blinded by something that's so beautiful. This is the Star or Celestial in this. Celestial mostly relates to the star in tarot, which is why I always call it the star first. It's about having goals and dreams and hopes. On this side, we have Excess. This is when you are doing things a little bit too much. It can be about drinking, as the face suggests. It could also be shopping too much, wanting too much, trying to live too big for your own means. And of course, we have the Sun. The Sun here is very much like the Sun in tarot. It deals with having a moment of joy and celebration in the face of a beautiful day and things coming together in a really lovely way. This goes right in the box, in his slot. And then we have the Baron of Autumn with the Autumn die. I know, big surprise. Now the Autumn die is a little complex. None of these faces necessarily are like an autumn leaf, but this is the one that I think of the most when I think about this die. This is change. It's when things shift. They start turning one way or another. And when you consider the autumnal equinox, for example, there's a really great version of it. The days are becoming shorter, the nights becoming longer. We also have Time, of course. This die deals a lot with running out of time or having limited time to make things work. We have Passing. This is like the death in tarot. It means something is ending and something new is beginning, but you have to be ready for the thing to end. This is Works. It means it's time to go out there and maybe work in the field, if that's what you do, or time to just work in general. This is the Barrel. It stores. This means that it's time for you to start getting your things prepared for the winter. This can mean all kinds of different things, of course, but usually I come to think of it as meaning it's time to store up some goodness for the future. And then we have here the wagon, or the carriage. And this is like the chariot in tarot. It's about journeys coming to an end. It's time to celebrate and enjoy what you have done and accomplished, but it's no longer time to go on that journey. It's no longer time to maybe act in big ways. It's time to wrap up and accept the thing ending. And this one goes right here. Then we have the Maiden of Winter with the winter die. Surprising, maybe again, no one. The winter die has snow and things you might expect. We also have things like the reflection, the mirror here, which talks about needing to take some time to self-reflect, take some time to do a lot of introspection, maybe. We also have the frost face. This means that things maybe are coming to a stall, things are freezing over. Working through this can be a little complicated. It mostly means that you're going to have to bring things forth to chip through, or you're going to have to just wait through the thaw. We have moon. This one I deal with the same way I deal with the moon in tarot. I think of it as illusory paths set out before you. There's many paths before you, but only one of them is true. Don't be led astray, basically. We have sorrow, sometimes in winter, especially those of us affected by, seasonal depression. This is a time to allow yourself to be sad and mourn things that are unfolding, maybe in not so great ways. We have the cameo or the memento here. This is very much memento mori. Remember that life is short, that you only have so much time on earth, and there's so many things for you to do. Use your time in a way that feels worthwhile and don't assume you'll live forever. And then we have snow. Snow is a little complicated, but I like to explain it as imagine your yard, if you have one, right? Or imagine a yard, the view from your window. You see all the details, you see the knocked over bike, you see the fence post maybe, but once snow comes, you can only see the outlines of the shapes of the things that were there before, now softened, without detail, without sharp edges. Snow is like that. It's when we think back on things and we only remember the shape of it. We don't remember the specifics. This can be a warning about nostalgia. Be careful you're not looking at the path through rose-tinted glasses. This is a very complicated face. But largely, I like to think of it as take stock of what is truly there and don't just believe your kind memories of what was. Then we get into the rest of the 22 dice. This is the Knight of Judgment. The Knight of Judgment has... This box does not want to stay up. The Knight of Judgment has the actions face. The actions die, rather. And the most maybe obvious one here is going to be the scales here of her sword. This is judgment. It's making sure that you take an even, measured approach to what's happening. Make sure that you really take your time to understand what's at stake, maybe on both sides. This is raise. It's sometimes time to just destroy something down to the bones and blow the dust of the bones away. Raise is a pretty intense one. This is haste. It means you need to take action quickly. If you wait too long, your opportunity will disappear. This one is transformation. It specifically deals with personal transformation. I think of the Knight of Judgment as someone who has made choices for herself about her own body, and transformation really connects with that. This is Helm. Her helmet is a very unique one. It is tucked under her arm over here, but Helm deals with needing to maybe weather the storm or deal with difficult situations for a period of time. And the last face is sacrifice. This is when you must give something up in order to make your way through. And this goes in the outer ring, the first of our outer ring dice there. This is the relations die, belonging to the collector of cells, who has many identities and has many relationships to themselves. This is isolation. This is maybe where you are incredibly alone, isolated from other people. This is typically by choice, but if it's not, then it means that you've been really pushed away from everyone else around you. This is the other. This deals with someone lording over you, feeling like they're always just behind you. This is together. This die means that there are implications here that you are in this with someone else. You're facing something with another person. You're not alone on it. This one is rejection. It's different than isolation. This is like more the moment or the action of being rejected or being the one doing rejection of another person, which is a little difficult to deal with. This is self. It means that it deals with you and you alone. No one else is necessarily tied to this. And then, of course, this one is apart. This means that there are two people involved, but there's something that has pushed them apart, maybe distance, maybe just circumstance. This is going to go, let's see, right there. And then the caretaker, who is a guest designer for the first edition set, who put together the Alchemist die. Let's see if I get these right. I always mix up tin and lead. I'm pretty sure that this one's lead, this one's tin. All right, there's prima materia. In alchemy, prima materia is like the blank slate of material. It's the thing you can do anything with, and that's what the face means. You are presented with an opportunity to do anything. What will you do with that? This is iron. It deals with attack and defense. It very much deals with like being active. And I mean, really, attack and defense kind of covers it, I feel. It's Mars, it's iron, it is the weapon. This here is Mercury. It's something that is formless. It means that you need to be ready to adjust yourself to different situations, be good and reactive at them. Again, I just said this one is lead. I hope that's true. Goodness gracious. Lead is something that is poisonous, but in alchemy, of course, it was the thing that was believed to be able to be turned to gold. So in the die phase, I consider it something that is toxic unless you're willing to do an extreme amount of work to turn it into something else. Here is copper. Copper is a conductive metal. This face means the same thing. It means that you, or maybe someone else in the situation, is really channeling energy that's around them. That means that if they're really frustrating or difficult to deal with right now, it might be because they're just channeling it from everything else. That's something that they should probably address. And then this is tin. This is the wise man's metal. It is made out of two different metals. It's an alloy, and tin gets to, or it's best used maybe as an alloy. And the long and short of it is that this face usually means that you need to put different ingredients together to get the most out of what's before you. The prima materia face goes up, and in it goes. Up next is the Metamorphosis die from the Quivering Monarch. The Quivering Monarch is a complicated character, but this die was actually made by Amy Smith for the original edition of the dice, and Amy is the same person who has upgraded all of the dice symbols for this set, actually last edition, and is doing the dice symbols for the new dice. So let's take a look. Because this is the life cycle of a monarch butterfly, forgive me, I have one of the older dice here. It didn't get filled in the prototype, but this is the egg of the monarch butterfly. The monarch butterfly has a very particular life cycle, so that's what we're going to follow through. Egg, of course, means that you are in maybe stasis and you are changing and growing, but you're not quite ready to do anything yet. So if it comes up, it's usually a good warning that you need to continue resting and preparing and gathering. Then you become the caterpillar. You are hungry, you desire. There's a lot ahead of you, but in order to get where you're going to have to do work to be prepared. There we go. This is your cocoon. This is when you are now in your next phase. You've put a lot of work into this, and at this point, you need to be prepared to rest. In the egg, you were still getting ready to go. In the caterpillar, you were gathering all the things so that you could enter this rest period. But until you have this rest period to reflect and think, you can't be ready to emerge. which is eclosion. Eclosion is this phase here. It is when you emerge from the cocoon. This is the moment when you come out, maybe in a literal, figurative way, depending on your circumstance. And then, of course, you have the monarch. This is when you are in your beauty and you're resplendent and you're amazing. You should celebrate that because you worked really hard to get here. This is you in your truest form, and other people's have to be chill with it. And then we have milkweed. Milkweed is the thing that you sustain on. It's the food that you collect your nutrients from. And from there, hopefully, you can make more eggs and continue on. So the monarch die goes there, metamorphosis die, or monarch. Then we have the nameless mariner. This is another guest die, and the third and last one. This is the mariner's die. The mariner's die is a complex one. It was designed by Sam Dow, and we worked together to come up with meanings. We'll start with the ocean. The ocean is deep and unpredictable. This face warns you that things are outside of your control, but also that they are much bigger than you. What's under the waves is like fathomless, and it is something you have to become confident and trusting, and you also need to be respecting because it can change on you at any moment. We have the knot. The knot means that simple things became complicated, and it asks, what you might do about that. This is the schooner. It is the boat. Sam Dow, who designed this die, sails historic wooden schooners. So schooner face is a very complicated one, but it's about journey. It's about found family. It's about being in an enclosed space with a bunch of people and being really close to them. It's definitely about finding community and connection in that space and facing the hardship that awaits maybe. We also have the compass, which is, of course, as it looks. It means you need to find your direction. Depending on where it comes up in a reading, it might mean you have a really good, strong sense of direction. Otherwise, it might mean that you really, really struggle with that. We also have the goal. This is similar to the flight face of spring, but it is a little bit different. The goals are loud and obnoxious and unafraid to be themselves, and that's what I consider this to be about. It's about unabashedly being yourself, being unafraid to shout in public if that's what you need to do, steal people's french fries. This just basically means be true to you and don't let others decide what you should be doing. They Who Hunger is our next lord. This is the lord of the Longings die. This die is about the things that you desire or want. For example, this right here, this mask, it's like the desire to not be known, to be hidden, to keep yourself to yourself. It's an identity that you want to keep alone. This is the desire to be held. This usually has to do with wanting someone to help care for you or look after you. This is the desire to be alone. This is very similar to the isolation face on the relations die from earlier, but it's a desire that you yourself have. This is the desire to be seen. This is when you want to be noticed and known and loved and appreciated for who you are. This is the desire for movement. This is when you need chaos or change. You just need to get up and go. And here is the desire for touch. Being held is different than touch, right? Care is more about wanting someone to be there to help you through difficult stuff. Touch is a lot more about you just need physical intimacy, and whether that's romantic or sexual is up to you, but it's definitely true that humans need connection with other people. That's just kind of a given. In it goes. Now we have the gambler, and the gambler's die is indeed the fate die. We'll start out here with the slots. 777. This is when things are going to pay out. They're good luck. We have fold, knowing when to throw away your hand. If a die lands over here and is the cards, it might be a good idea to understand that this card's saying that the dice under it at the card side are the things you need to get rid of because they're not working for you. The roulette is just like the wheel and tarot. It means things are up to chance. You should be wary of this. This is the Black Sun. This one's a really unique and difficult face, but it usually means the opposite of luck. If the 777 is extreme luck, the Black Sun is the opposite. Things aren't working, and you need to recognize that maybe it's time to cut losses. Ace of Spades is your silver bullet, exactly what you need at just the right time. And the hand is the hand you were dealt. It's recognizing that things that are in your life and what they mean to you and what you can do with them. Very fun die. The Bearer of Boons has the Kindness die, the Boons die, depending on how you look at it. If this face comes up, it means typically it's a gift to you. And then if this face comes up, it's usually about giving a gift. This is mending a wound. This is a nice thing, just pie, pure pleasantry. This is being shot through the heart with love and being in love with someone or something, feeling something really great happening. And the rubber bouncing ball is just joy in its simplicity. Kids can have fun with just about anything. This is a very, very, I think, simple die. It talks about things that are coming into your life that are good, or things maybe that you are giving to other people if it's a gift. And I like to include it especially in difficult readings because sometimes it's nice to be reminded what good there is. We have the Showman. The Showman is the Lord of the Attentions die. The Attentions die works through a light system to understand how much attention you want someone to have. So the candle's personal. It's light for just you, or maybe a select other person if you choose to share. This just means like the topic that it is next to, if it's next to another die, or the area of the reading it's in, is something that you don't necessarily want to share. It's not something that's hidden necessarily. It's just personal to you. We have the Lantern, which is when you share with other people and lead them on a journey somewhere. I would say Neon is kind of the next step up, where you want to be acknowledged. When something is a neon sign, it usually means that it wants attention. This is the Spotlight. This is when you are the center stage and everyone's looking at you. Sometimes it's what people want, sometimes it's not. The Closet here is something that you want to hide away, but you feel like is inevitable that's going to get out. This is the really obvious metaphor of like coming out of the closet for queer people, but it can mean anything, right? It can be just like an embarrassing secret you didn't want people to know, or something that you did that you're ashamed of. Then we have the Hole. The Hole is something, this is where you put things that you're so deeply hurt or ashamed about, either happening to you or something maybe you did, or just something that happened in your life that you never want to come to the light of day. This is not like the Closet. This is stuff that you expect to never come up, and you expect to just simply never have a conversation about it. Next, this should be familiar for many. This is the Alleyman. The Alleyman is the Lord of the Alley die. The Alley die has faces like the Stray, which deals with people who have been abandoned or given up on. It has Community, which, is very helpful for strays, for example. Community is really important part of the alley. We have Performance, which is where you recognize who is performing and for what reason. It doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It doesn't just mean for entertainment. We perform all the time. We perform gender. We perform joy for people who get things that we wish we'd gotten for us. It's just an acknowledgement of performance being in the reading. This is the Alley, which talks about liminal spaces where things are forgotten. This is Truth, when you're just looking for the bare bones truth of a thing. And this is Scavenging. Sometimes you have to scavenge to survive. And sometimes it's recognition that you have no other choice. But other times it can also be recognition that things are being left behind too often by other people, and what you're picking up is probably lovely treasure. So drop that in the box. The Publishing Goblin. This one's me. The Publishing Goblin is the Lord of the Goblins die. The Goblins die features a bunch of different things on here, like inspiration, lightning striking. For me, this is very personal about being struck by thoughts and processes that I really wanted to get into. This die deals with like a little bit of obsession and being stuck on things or things arriving to you. I roll this die for projects more than anything. This is focus. It shows that you are very, very focused on one thing in particular. This is manufacturing. This can mean doing a bunch of labor to make a lot of things. This could be baking a bunch of things for a bake sale. This could be manufacturing literally for new projects or products. I have the quill for writing or putting down your thoughts. It's a good sign to maybe journal or put something together into words so that you have it for later. I also have obsession, where you can't sleep and all you can do is think about the thing that you're stuck on. We also have strangeness with claws and ears. This is a die face about being strange and respecting the parts of you that are strange and still loving them. I am a big fan of that die. It's very, very about me. We have the Stitch Queen here. The Stitch Queen is the lord of the Influences die. The Influences die deals with things that are influencing you or the situation and how they're doing it. So like we have the Ghost here, which is about haunting. If it is near another die, it says that that other die is not something that's in your life right now, but it's something that maybe was in your life before. And as a result, it's haunting the things you're saying or doing now. We have, of course, the puppet, where you are being led along on your strings. Who's pulling the strings and why? Are you letting them? Is it an uncomfortable situation? Can you get out of it? The arcane here means that it's something really esoteric, and the influences are things that are out of your control. The wobbly wheel is a gift that was given to you. Either this is a way to view the world, or it could be a literal physical thing. And it's worked for you for years, but you don't have to keep it just because it was given to you in love. If it doesn't work for you anymore, set it down and replace it. We also have the sun and the flower. This is kind of a complicated one. Something can be the sun, where it only gives. Something can be the flower, where it only receives. How other dice land in relation, if there's a die here and a die here, we understand what's the sun and what's the flower. It can be good, it can be bad. It depends on the situation. And then we have the smile. It's when people mean well, but maybe the things that they do end up being harmful toward you or the situation. This often happens when people don't actually know what they're offering. And the Martyr of Wounds. This one's a fan favorite. I've had a lot of people tell me this is their favorite lord. The Wounds die is exactly as it sounds. It is exclusively about wounds. This is unmarred. It means that maybe you're being a little foolish and naive in how you're approaching things right now, and you may be facing soon pain that you weren't aware of or aren't ready for. This one here is the scar. It's the mark of having been hurt before. It means that maybe you're a little hesitant to do things that might hurt you again. This is the wound itself, right? There's the cut. It's when you are hurt, and this just recognizes your pain. We have the gut punch. This is something that you just really didn't expect. It often deals with betrayal, someone hurting you in a way that you just weren't ready for because you didn't think they would ever do something like that. We have the tongue wound, which is when you can't speak for yourself in a situation. Either people are speaking over you or they're not listening to you. What you have to say just won't be heard, or someone's in a position of power over you where you're just not allowed to speak at all. And we have this through the head. This is something that strikes you straight through the head. You can't think straight with it. It's often precise. It hits you just where it hurts. So the wounds die deals with different forms of wounds, and specifically where they end up landing and other dice they interact with give you a lot more information about like what this means or why it's relevant. Because of course, if you add this to your reading, you're always going to learn something about a wound. But what it says about that wound, that's the complicated part. So he goes up here. Now we're down to the last 5 dice. And first of the final 5 dice is the Heir of Earth with her element die. The elements die has the elements that you might expect, and maybe some you don't. So we'll start with metal. Metal is a sign that what you are either doing or what you have active right now is specialized. It's been turned into a tool. But there's one of those moments where you have to recognize that if you have a hammer, everything begins to look like a nail. Is this tool usable in every situation? It's strong and it's durable and it's really good at its job, but it's not flexible in that way. Make sure that you use your tools for what they're for and not anything else. We have water. Water deals with being a little formless, being able to adapt to things, but also it deals with the depths of water and how what's happening at the surface is not always the same as what's happening underneath. This is wind. Wind deals with things that are very fickle and changing, things that are not stationary, and things that probably won't stay around for you for super long. You have to be careful with wind. It's still fun. It means opportunities can come knocking any moment, but they can also change. The leaf here is earth. Earth is your grounding foundational force, as it is in, I imagine, most takes. We have soul, which deals with your heart and love and very humanness of this die. And of course, we have fire. Fire deals with passion, stubbornness, drive, desire. This die often lands around other dice and tells you, kind of characterizes a little bit what they are, what they're doing, what they're up to. And it goes right here. And we continue with the Chronicler of Choice and his majors or themes die. I think about this, it was part of the first edition set, and for me, it really struck me as a die that just hits so many big major topics. So I call it the themes die, I call it the majors die. It just hits some really, really big things. So let's look. The Chronicler of Choice kind of starts out here with this like path face. This suggests that there's 2 different paths, or maybe more than 2 ahead. When dice land on either side of it, it might suggest that those are the path options. If a dice lands at the bottom of it, it might be that that's the thing that you're coming from and heading out onto to have your choices. If you have a die up top, that might be the die that relates to maybe the impetus for the choice, the need for the choice. We have the binary face, which suggests that things in this situation are either complete yes or complete no. You don't have a lot of other options. Depending on where it lands, it might also, if it is maybe tied to your mind or what you're thinking about, you might be thinking about things in a binary that doesn't exist. This is one of my favorite faces, the balloon. I once had a poetry professor in undergrad, Robin Schiff, who's an incredible poet, who once said, "Balloons don't have good futures." And that has stayed with me forever. So the idea behind the balloon face is that there's temporary happiness at play. But the most important thing to recognize here, of course, is that it's temporary and it will go away. Balloons do not have happy futures. We have the heart here. The heart's a really complicated face because how it lands determines a lot of things. There's a large heart on top. There's a small heart on bottom. If it lands between 2 things, it might suggest that something over here is maybe getting or giving more love, and over here is getting or giving less love. It also can talk about heartbreak or things being separated apart. It also can just deal with love itself. It is one of those die faces that really needs your intuition to understand what it's telling you, but the theme is love and passion and who's putting what forth. Over here is loss. This is present when people lose connection, people break up, someone passes on. Again, if there are dice that represent these people on either side, that can give you more information about it. And then here is order. order suggests that everything has its place here and that you maybe need to recognize that. It can also mean that you need to get your stuff in order as well. So this one goes right here. Up next is the Accuser, and the Accuser is intentionally modeled on Lucifer, who in the Old Testament was an angel that accused man on behalf of God. Very misunderstood figure in biblical history, of course. So the Accuser has the Obstacles die. This is the die of how things are in the way for you. So let's take a look. This one right here is like a direct combat, crossed swords face. It deals with two or more people reaching some kind of stalemate, differing ideologies. Obviously, because the sword handles are in certain spaces, if you have dice on either side, it can tell you who's on what side and what they stand for. We have peace. This is the rose. Peace as an obstacle is a really complicated one, of course, because it deals with the idea of uneasy pieces or unsteady pieces, right? Where one person maybe accepts something they don't agree with, and eventually that could blow up or it could go wrong because they were a little too willing to compromise and they realize later that it doesn't work. This can also be a false piece where someone's letting things go for now, but it does not end well later. As an obstacle, we have emergence. This is when someone or something emerges in some way, either becoming their true selves, they're revealing some important facet about them, or something that they feel or have always felt. And this is a face that usually means that someone's struggling with accepting this new version of another person. We have oppression, which is, of course, the face of someone in jail or behind bars. Oppression can be societal, like people's marginalized identities being targeted. It can also be someone doing something over another person, but it usually deals with something that's a little more systemic than just like someone being mean, for example. We have time. Time is an incredible obstacle. Sometimes time is an obstacle because it is limited. Sometimes time is the obstacle because there's a lot of it that still has to pass before you get to do the thing you want to do. That's complicated. And then we have ruin. This is essentially the tower from tarot. Ruin deals with massive shifts and change. As an obstacle, it means that you're really struggling to deal with the way that things have been shifting and changing. And this, of course, goes right here. We're down to the last ones. The Tarot Keeper is the owner of, or the lord of, the Suits die. And the Suits die is indeed the tarot die, basically. We have cups, we have swords, we have pentacles, we have wands, and then a couple others. So cups is very much like the suit of cups. I consider this a characterizer die. It means that usually it needs to pair with something else to then explain what that other thing has going on with it in a qualitative kind of way. So cups is dealing with emotion and emotional fulfillment, where you're finding it, your relationships. So when this lands near something, it tells me that if it's near the relations die, for example, and it's together, it tells me like this person is together with you in an emotionally fulfilling way. If it was apart instead, or let's say it's the Alchemist die prima materia phase, right? Which means that there's something new and a little bit formless you get to create. If this landed next to it, it would tell me that it connects directly with your happiness and what makes you feel fulfilled. We have the swords, of course, which deals with the mind, what you're thinking, your creativity, but also your logic. It deals with it more with ideas than it does with anything physical or real. Pentacles, likewise, is going to do the opposite. It's going to deal with the physical. It can deal with relationships with other people. It can deal with people in your life. It can also deal, of course, with finances or things that you own. And then, of course, we have wands. And wands are connected to fire. They're about passion and drive. It's about how you direct your energy and what things you're trying to work towards. If I see this in the reading, it tells me it's a lot to do with what you're trying to accomplish in life. Then we have the Mage's face. This tells me that whatever it's next to is very, very important. I think of it as standing in as a Major Arcana card, and just kind of making the dice near it have a lot more weight to the reading. And then, of course, we have Void. And this is when something does not get characterized. It should be seen just as it is, or perhaps the thing it's connected to is something that's somewhat hidden or hard to recognize. This goes here. And then we have the final die, and this is the Chaos die. This belongs to the Trickster, who is also known as the Thing Among Reflections. There are other names on here, like the Empty Throne, the Lord of Change. I can't even read that. There's a bunch of little names on here, like the Shifting Shadow or something. I made up a bunch of things. There's also like Happy Squirrel written on there. This is our D12, and as a D12, it has 12 sides, and they're all a lot more complicated. To be frank, personally, I don't use this die almost ever. However, the reason it's in here is because there was a 12-sided die, there was a 6-sided die actually in the first edition, and it did things like move dice around, and that never connected with me, but it connected with a lot of people who own the dice set. So the 12-sided die is the Chaos die, and it stands out from the rest because it does a lot of different things you're not used to. Like this is the book face or the tome grimoire. This, when it comes up in a reading, tells you to grab the nearest book, open your random page, point to a random passage, and that is now what this die means. We have a burning bridge, which means that what you are doing maybe has burned the way to go back. We have this rotation phase. If it lands in a particular quarter or area of a reading, you would rotate all of the dice to show the bottoms of those dice. We have entropy, which warns you that the things that are there maybe are fading out in some way. We have this, which is a die, which tells you to add another die to the reading. We have shadow, which tells you to read everything in shadow. The jester, the dumpster fire, the blank face, which is important, of course, broken time. Just in a lot of ways, this die adjusts your reading. I mean, this one's ridiculous. You have to throw dice into other dice, and how they affect each other, it stays. This really changes your readings in kind of a fun and chaotic way. That's why it is the Chaos die. But it is also something that is somewhat optional, I would say, compared to all the rest of the dice. And as a result, it goes right in the center. Well, thank you so much for joining me and checking out the dice for the season set. I'm also going to be doing a video that will cover the dice for the Keykeeper set, so stay tuned, and thanks for joining me.